Hello and welcome everyone to another inventRight TV show. My name is Andrew Krause. I'm one of the co-founders here, and we have April Mitchell, who's one of our fantastic inventRight coaches, and her student Andy Dillo. Welcome, guys.
Yay!
Hello,
Thank you for
hello.
having us.
So what we're trying to accomplish here is give you kind of an inside look of what an inventRight student goes through, and so you can learn some important lessons about the licensing process. And we just try to keep it really real and just make it an interactive conversation. So let's get to the chase, though. We'll start at the end and then we'll kind of go back. Let's do that because Andy has some great news. What's that news, Andy?
Yeah, literally today I got the countersigned contract. So it feels like months and months and months, but there we are. It's total coincidence. The day we're speaking, they sent it back and we're done.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for everything. It's been amazing.
So, and at the end there, our negotiation coach, Paul, was helping you out. Do you want to talk a little bit about the contract? You said that you've done a lot of negotiations and you're familiar with contracts, but how is this different? You had mentioned something to me earlier.
Yeah, no, that's it. I mean, I certainly wouldn't pretend I'm an expert, but contract negotiation in my day job is incredibly regular and frequent. But this is just different, and there's no way you could know what you need to know in a licensing agreement unless, like Paul, you've seen more than you care to count. And yeah, it was, I read it several times and then he just very quickly pointed out, yeah, but you don't want that. Otherwise, this thing isn't going to work anytime soon.
Could you give us an example of maybe one of the things that you wouldn't have even thought of that Paul, our negotiation coach, brought up?
Yeah, 100%, because it was so clearly set out. So he just highlighted a few points, and I obviously, the first thing an inventor looks at, it's like, well, what's the royalty rate? Well, what's the percentage? And we obviously talked about that, and he helped me negotiate it up. But the point that really made the difference was right at the end. There was a bullet point that basically said, if you don't get your patent approved, then all bets are off. You don't get your minimum, you don't get anything.
Oh yeah, we don't want that.
Exactly. And to be fair, the company weren't trying. I think it was a template they were using. They weren't, trying to mess around despite your natural instincts. But the whole conversation had been about licensing a product concept, which before InventRight was a totally foreign idea to me anyway. But the patent was nice to have, and it's hopefully going to be granted, and it will change the royalty. But otherwise, it's just additional protection.
You had mentioned that there's always a little bit of a feeling like maybe they're going to try to screw me or something now, and then you said to myself in April before we went live, and you're like, I realized that wasn't the case. And some inventors could jump to that conclusion with that bullet point and go, oh, they're trying to screw me. And you're very logical about it. Maybe they're using kind of a template, and maybe their attorney thought it was a good idea, but once you brought it up, they were okay with changing it?
Yeah, and this was another thing that Paul was so helpful on is, listen, this is logic and practical and step by step. And the same as anything, especially when you're dealing with a decent size organization, there's just layers, right? I luckily had built so much to inventRight's advice, a strong relationship with the CEO. And so, I had some trust there, but of course he's dealing with his legal team and with whoever else is involved in the mechanics. So stuff gets lost in translation. And that was really all it was. But you can't help but start thinking, oh, is it? Am I being too naive here? And in the end, we just jumped on a call. That was the best way to do it. You can go back and forth on email, but it was like, right, let's just talk this through. And they were open to all of the tweaks and literally pretty much everything Paul suggested we got in the contract.
I got one last question for you, and then, Paul is like the tail end of things, and April's helping you with all the earlier stuff, so I want to get to that. But would you say it's accurate? I've been saying this a lot lately, that you're not you're not dealing with the company, which seems intimidating when they're a very large company. You're dealing with people within that company, and you had some relationships there. Does that kind of bring it down a notch where it just feels doable and you can talk to them, as opposed to like you're talking to this faceless company, which is not really the case?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's said so many times, and it's hard to remember. But literally everything in life and business is about relationships. So, I remember watching the module and reading the content and thinking, gosh, it's so obvious. But then it's when you actually have to do it. And when, April's laughed at me so many times, not at me, but with me, because, this has taken forever. Like, it's been an exercise in patience not to be like, where the hell is the contract? And that's the point, right? They're busy people, they're doing lots of different things, but it's all that empathy on, I'm one inventor in all the cool stuff that they're doing. Doesn't mean they don't care, doesn't mean they're not keen to get it done, but you just, over time, build that relationship, and then, it certainly takes away from this idea that this scary corporate, just a person on the other side.
Right. So April, let's go to the beginning, because he said, there's a struggle. I mean, we get on and we're like, hey, you closed the deal, congratulations. And everybody's like, let's hear the struggle, right? Everybody wants to hear that, because, Andy's admitting that there was some struggles there, and there is for most people. It's not like you just show it to a few companies and boom, you got a deal the next day, right? What did he struggle with at the beginning?
Well, so first off, I want to say that Andy came to us kind of ahead of the game. He had a sell sheet made up that he did, which was a really good start. He had CAD drawings of a prototype. So he had things in the works, right? And I can laugh about this now with Andy, because there was so much copy on his sell sheet. Like, it had so much great information, but he wanted to tell them everything, right? All at once. But the images were great, the graphics were great. So what we had to do is we had to take it, and you had to go through the module, right? Step 5 is all about the marketing material, 5 and 6. And then we had to chisel away that copy so we could get it like right to the point, look at it, boom, 10 seconds, we know. Otherwise, they would take a couple minutes to read it.
Well, let me ask you this. If you had just let him send it as is, what he had, that could have really hurt him, because like we say, people give it like 6 seconds, that's it. And they could have, I'm not getting it real quick, so no thank you. Could that have happened?
It could have. We'll never.
We don't know for sure.
We'll never know. But I like to at least claim that that I helped, right? But what was unique about Andy's situation too, his product is in a way where we actually did a second sell sheet, so that way he could pitch it to 2 different categories in the same industry, so that way he could showcase one version and then showcase the other. Oh. So that second sell sheet, after we went through the first one, was just boom, 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 like a piece of cake for him, because he had already chiseled everything down from the first one, and now we're just have a change of graphics, and the virtual prototype is a little different and things like that. So he did amazing. That's the thing that I have to say was, not only was it great working with Andy because he's just an awesome guy, but he took my feedback and he did what we needed to do to get the work done. Like, he didn't hesitate. He got right to work, and he went through the content and did the work. So when he came to our meetings, when there's questions, they were higher level questions. It wasn't simple things, because he did the work, he figured it out, he learned, and then he's coming back with, okay, now more situational, more deep dive stuff, which makes a huge difference. And I think we got to use our time very wisely that way.
And we can't get into specifics because he just licensed it, but it's a bath-related product. And it sounds like what you guys have set up is a deal where he still has the rights to license it in another area. Is that correct, Andy?
That's exactly right, yeah.
Okay, and so you're not done, man. Like, we're cracking the whip, man. You got some work to do. You just did a deal. You're like, you can't even take a breath. You got to license the other version of it, right?
Beginning. Exactly.
Hey, everybody. We got some great free resources on inventRight.com. So let's check that out real quick, and we'll get right back to the show. Here we go. So to check out those free resources, and visit inventRight.com. Click on that big blue button in the upper right-hand corner. Ton of free resources for you guys. And if you need help moving your projects forward through the entire process, including negotiations, we can help. Click on the Contact Us button. Book an appointment with Dana or Sylvia. They're super friendly. Maybe you're not even ready to do that yet, but you want to investigate. They're not going to hound you. They're really, really cool. They're just going to talk to you and explain it. That's our style. So for that, click on the Contact Us button. And now let's get back to the show.
Okay.
So did you know that immediately, Andy, or did April go, oh no, we can break this out? Or did you kind of already see that it could be broken out?
It's so funny to think about now, because in hindsight you can't really remember what was where, and I can tell that from April's answer, because for sure I was not an A plus student. That is 100%. But total credit is, and this isn't blowing smoke. The only reason I came prepped is because of all the InventRight content first. I wouldn't have had the faintest idea. Like, I found Stephen and then you, Andrew, and InventRight through Tim Ferriss so long ago. And yeah, a sell sheet, I hadn't got the faintest idea what that was or why you needed one. So I followed the content, and then it got to the point where I'm like, okay, I've sort of, I'm the grey hairs show that I've, had a few jobs. So you think, okay, I should be able to just figure this out. And it's such a lesson for me, just generally about coaching and why experts fast track, when you're trying to accomplish something. Because I could still be kicking around for the next 3 to 5 years if I hadn't had April to say, think about this, no, change that. But it was at the right time. Like, I think that's what you mean, April, is, I'd done the bit where you can get so far yourself. And then what I needed was a combination of a couple of things. I think the patent was incredibly helpful with the expertise, the sell sheet, like we said, and then the negotiation. But the stuff in between, the intangible bits, were where I got the real value. Just some of the motivation about, okay, I know this is the slog, whatever we call it, the grind, but just keep going. It's a numbers game. And April's just so amazing. She always is smiling, despite the fact that I don't know how she has time for anything in a day. But, she'd literally just finished however many calls to her people, before she jumped on a call with me. So I was almost guilted without her saying anything into, listen, I can't turn up not having done the work.
So she's talking about how she's working on her own projects, and you had mentioned, she just made 50 calls before our call, and or messages and whatever, and it's like, I better 100%. Get my act together.
Exactly that. It was lead by example. Yeah. And, she didn't need to show me the spreadsheet, right? Just the way she talked about it, it's like, oh, God, I need some structure and discipline here. But it was great. And it's so funny, because I'd listened to these sorts of videos with you guys, and it can come in one ear and out the other of, listen, you just got to get on the phone, you've just got to do enough. And that was all it was. And I thought, of course, like everyone else at the beginning, that this is thankless. No one's interested, or I'm either not getting responses. But as soon as I added that structure, as soon as April wanted to see my list, I was like, okay, I better have one. And then, I was only a third of the way down, I think, and someone was like, listen, mate, let's jump on a call. And it just happens immediately like that. And then, okay, it takes another 12 months of talking and flirting and everything else. But, that's how it can happen to anyone.
So it sounds like the combination of just doing it and being in it is very different than watching our videos or reading our books. Would you say that's accurate? Yeah,
no, I think that is accurate. But I just mean, you guys have got so much content that can get you so far yourselves. I think the reading and the doing was important. I mean, if you really want to go at breakneck speed, get a coach and just get on with it. But there's so much you can do yourself. And then it's when you think, right, I may have got to the edge of my competence. Who can help me just do this last bit? Yeah. But this isn't supposed to be like a preaching session. It's just, I think about how long ago I could have given up and not got to this point. And I'm just so glad I didn't. I'm so grateful to you guys.
What advice on any part of the process would you give? You kind of already have given a bunch of advice, but what advice on any part of the process would you give an inventor that's new to this? They're thinking about it. They feel this just seems like too much. It's too overwhelming. Yeah, Andrew's saying, look, you don't need to run a business. You don't need to raise money. You just need to close that one deal with that one company. They're going to take all of it. That sounds all great, Andrew, but I'm still overwhelmed. I just don't feel like I can do it. What would you say to that person?
Yeah, it's a good question. I always try and do things in three, so let's see if there are three. The first bit is you just got to start, right? So if you've got an idea, don't overthink whether it's good enough or whether it'll end up being something. I had so many people say, well, there's nothing patentable, there's no innovation. And you just got an instinct, and that's where you got to trust. And then surrounding yourself by people or just content, like that's why, listening to the YouTube channel and, absorbing the stuff is so valuable, because it just keeps you going, it keeps you thinking. You don't even need to join or anything else, just get that momentum. And then I think the only other valuable bit, there's so much detail afterwards, but if you think you know what it's going to look like at the end, you don't. It's just an evolution, right? So as long as you start and then get that momentum, just be open to the fact that it will probably look completely different. But if you keep going, just eventually good stuff will happen.
Be flexible. It sounds like you're saying be flexible in your perception of what the path's going to be for this particular product or at all. And an example of being flexible is, company likes the product, but we don't like this, and being willing to change it. We've had students go, well, I don't want to do that. And it's like, no, that's what they're asking for. Like, change it a bit for them. And realizing that a lot of inventing is done actually after you contact the company too, right?
It's so funny you say it. Exactly. And that, in a way, it's the exciting bit if you're open to it. But it's funny because it's frustrating not being able to talk about specifics. But yeah, my idea of what I thought this would come to market as is completely different to what it will eventually be. I mean, okay, the concept's there, it's still what's in the patent, but the way they thought about marketing it and then having kids use it is, it's totally different, and it's way cooler. So it's going to be fun to see.
Did you, April, were you with them through that part of the process when they were doing the discussions about
So I saw it transform a little bit, but not the end. I don't know what it looks like now. So I'm excited, to see it come all the way out and be able to check it out and try one out. Because even if it's for kids, I could still have.
Now the next lesson is that Andy's going to need to wait. So what is your perception of the wait, Andy? You just literally, you said today? It was today. It's like, wait, he's in the UK, so it's like 5:30 for him. It's like 10 o'clock for me. But he just signed this today. So that's really good example. Very commonly, it's like a year before it hits the market. Maybe even a little bit more than a year, maybe a year and a half. How do you feel about that? What is your perception? Maybe you haven't had that discussion with them even yet. What's going on there?
No, we have, and this is the thing. It's all, when you think about elapsed time and the effort, most of it has been waiting or chasing, let's be honest. Like I just set myself a Friday reminder at 8 a.m. to chase the I nearly gave it away, the product. And that's what I did each week, as gently and as kindly. And they even said they appreciated it. Just say, listen, where are we at with this? I'm just checking in. But the nice thing is that they've been progressing it during that wait. So they anticipate that it will hit the shops in January. But
soon.
We've learned that any milestone is there to be missed. But hopefully it won't be 12 months.
Right. What I just want to add really quick, Andrew, I think that's what's great, and a reminder to students is a lot of times these deals take so long because the company is figuring out, they're doing a factory sample, right? They're evolving it. Now they've got the production. They want to get how much it's going to cost before they decide on your royalty rate of what they can do. So some companies will sign something right away, they love it, and they haven't figured that all out yet.
Right.
And a lot of companies will have to do the samples and measurements and get that all figured out before you actually sign a contract. And so that is what it was in Andy's case. And so they got that all figured out. So yeah, it's September 1st today. And that's why he may just get that, have it on the shelves in 6 months because they've already done all that work. So I think that's important to know.
Isn't that a trip? That's not that uncommon. I mean, I've seen companies spend $5,000-8,000 on a prototype and stuff. There's no contract or anything. They spent a bunch of money and they moved it forward. So, maybe they've already done 6 months of the work and you just got 6 months to go. And I wouldn't say that's typical, but it's not uncommon.
It's not, and these were discussions that we got to have because I've been through that with products, right? So I got to give Andy all of my experience in the situations. Well, okay, this is happening, but you still can be pitching, like you didn't sign a contract, like keep going, right? And it's hard because you're in these, in this progression with one company, but you don't ever really know until you sign that contract, right? So these are discussions in real life, experience back and forth, situational things that we got to discuss, and he had to ultimately decide what was he going to do in that situation. Was he going to just pitch to the other category, or was he going to wait? And all these things that inventors have to they have to ultimately decide.
Andy, can you let us know when the product hits the market so we can help you promote it? That would be great. I know companies, they don't typically want us to talk about it before it hits the market because, they want to give their competitors a leg up. But if 6-7 months from now, let us know when it comes out. We'll let you guys know. Hey, maybe we'll bring Andy on like a year or two from now, get an update. Well, he might license the other iteration of it, which is interesting. You can't always do that, folks, but April looked at it with him and said, oh, you can license it over here and keep this over here, a different version of it, different market, different geography, and that's what he's up to next. So maybe pretty sometime soon you're talking about that with us too, Andy. That would be great.
I'd love that. Yeah, no, thank you.
All right. So April, thank you so much. Thank you for the hard work you did for Andy as well as his negotiation coach, Paul. And I'll remind everybody to take care and keep inventing, and we'll catch up with you guys next time. See you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.